You can fly me to the moon, even in this trash bash space cruiser. Hi everybody, and a warm welcome back to MapleLeafCustoms in Switzerland. I'm Andrew, and on the bench today, in a drastic departure from my regular die-cast customs and restorations, I'm working on another space cruiser. 2.0 this time, because it's only my second one. I've been accumulating bits and pieces over the years. I've got several Super Soaker guns to make up the main body parts, some Thrift Store parts, computer guts that I've salvaged from old desktops, obsolete DVD players, and inkjet printers, and random 3D printed parts that never got used on other builds. Basically, whatever I find in the bottom of the junk drawer is fair game for this kind of thing. I don't have any sketches or plans in mind, to be honest, so pour yourself a fresh hot cup of coffee and sit back and see what I come up with. These different Super Soakers come from all kinds of different sources: dollar stores in Canada when I visited there, flea markets around Basel. Only one of them was bought new. I think it was this one, which was a big investment of 3 or 4 euros. So I don't have a lot wrapped up in these, and therefore I don't mind taking them apart like this. I'll use some of the parts, and some of them will get thrown back into the big plastic bin for Cruiser 3.0. I did create these 2 bespoke pieces on my filament printer specifically for this space cruiser. They're 2 identical space discs which I'll glue together. It could be a communications hub or proton accelerator. I don't know. Use your imagination. It's all fantasy today. The first bit of random material is this plastic zip tie that's going to seal the edges. I clip off the end. And that's a greeblie that I can use. It's not waste. You probably already know the term. They're the little bits that make up the detailed texture on the surface of these types of builds. And they're the reason I never throw anything away. Ask my wife. She's thrilled about that. I used black filament, obviously, which means I need to give that a little bit of a gray primer coat, just to lighten it up, but not saturation, because I want the black shadows to show through. I use a 0.5mm needle to get a good wide spray. Check it out. All kinds of great details on the surface of that one. This is one of the old DVD players that I got dumpster diving at my local recycling center. They treat me well there. I'll spend about 20 minutes opening things like this up and harvesting the innards, all the buttons, gears, and controls. Can use just about everything on builds such as the one I'm doing now. I don't even know the names for most of these things. Look at the collection you get after just a few of these. I actually organize these by shape or plastic or metal, motherboard components, etc. There is a method to my madness. So, I've got the Super Soaker guns taken apart. I've chosen a few pieces. Lots of 3D prints, big and small, computer guts, and nameless bits and pieces from the junk drawer. More than I need. Coming up on MapleLeaf Customs, it's back to the die-cast cars with these different projects all in the pipeline. you come back regularly, you'll be treated to a brand new upload every Saturday at the same time, and I hope that you will. I try to offer a variety of different projects, and I trust there will be plenty that strike your fancy. In the spirit of not throwing things away, these are some plastic parts that my Hewlett-Packard toner cartridges get packed in for shipping. I don't mind the different edges, that's actually what I'm looking for. But I do need to cut 2 pieces to size to cover the opening on the bottom of the Space Cruiser. By the way, I use super glue pretty well exclusively on this build. I think I'll cut off the back piece and scab this on from another gun. Those look just like rocket boosters to me. Today's community shout-out goes to a fellow trash bash builder, Terrain by Aaron, my friend in Ireland. Check out his excellent channel, please. I've put a link in the description to this video. Tell him you came over from MapleLeafCustoms. Time to maneuver some bits around and see what fits where and what doesn't. I'll do this before I affix any parts permanently. Lots to choose from. Some metal, some plastic. That looks like an old remote control panel. Also looks good right here. I'll lay some more stuff on top of that, like this doodad. Why not? Couple of metal corner pieces. Cover up some of that green plastic. There's a 3D printed module that would work with a Star Wars theme. Here's an old resin print. I think that's a tank turret. A little bit too chunky. That doesn't make the final cut. But this looks promising. Just a bit too big, at least for right here. I like this piece, so I made a couple of them. I'll definitely find the right area. More Hewlett-Packard toner packing bits in very unusual but usable shapes. Printed discs. I don't know where these came from, but they'd be good for beefing up the sides of the Space Cruiser. Internal part from an inkjet printer? Can't remember. Another 3D print. I like these little panels. That's the right size for scale. Coca-Cola bottle cap. That'll find its way into this project somehow. Alright, out comes the ubiquitous super glue to make these decisions permanent. I'm asking everyone to use their imagination and to trust the process, because right now it's a mix of shapes and colors and materials, and it looks like a lot of junk glued onto a water pistol. For very good reason. That's what's happening. But there's a magical step coming up very soon that is going to blow your mind, so stick with me. I go through so much dollar store super glue that I've got hundreds of these plastic caps I've never thrown out. Might as well use them. Pretty random looking, isn't it? More buttons. I'm getting there. This is another large piece that I cut off from a different Super Soaker. I'm going to use that as a citadel that hangs down underneath in the middle. More HP packing plastic. Notice in this case I've screwed it into the new piece, which in turn gets screwed on to the bottom of the main body for extra strength. And I put some air dry modeling clay around that to fill in the gap. My 3D printed space disc is going to go in between the main body and this nose piece. Just a dry fit to see the shape and scale of it all together. Again, I don't have a model in mind, I'm just throwing this together as it looks good to me. I need to get it up off the desk now, so I fashioned a makeshift base using a couple of acrylic posts for stands. It's not permanently glued in yet, so it's still got some sag to it, but I'm working on it and I'll fix that up. The nose cone was scavenged from Super Soaker number 3, which I took all apart, but I need to fill in the front and the back circular openings with a couple of household jar lids. I also need to cover over some of these air vents. I'll do that with some basic PLA plate. And I've got a little nibbler tool that I like. This just cuts out square notches, gives me a little more interesting edge. Like so. This is a special scissor tool. It gives me perfectly square or angled cuts. More junk going on to fill out the nose cone. You know, that orange thing is the safety valve from a spray can that you have to pop off before you can spray. I've saved them all. One more pan over what I've got done so far. Plastic pieces, metal bits, 3D printed parts. This thing's got it all. These tiny little buttons or rivets were great fillers too. Now for the magic stage you've been waiting for. Gray primer from a spray can. I'm masked up. I've got an adjacent window open with my ventilator hose going out because I'm going to empty half of this can today. Look at the transformation. All of the orange, all of the blue, black, and turquoise parts is transformed now. It's my favorite step. This brings the whole thing together into what now looks like a cohesive unit. I'm doing it in short little blasts instead of long sprays, so it doesn't go on too heavy. I try to hit it from several different angles too, for full coverage. And now for the flip side. You'll notice that the Space Cruiser is not symmetrical right and left. They're totally different, for obvious reasons. Isn't that satisfying to watch? Total transformation in under 2 minutes. Looks like an entirely different craft now. I had harbored just a few doubts, but I'm happy now. One more thing. The nose cone is incomplete until I put these 3D printed probes up front. I also made a pair of feet to more securely hold these temporary leg stands. First set were a little bit too small. Off they come. New ones are perfect. Bit more stability when it goes onto the base this way, which again is just temporary. The whole thing will end up hanging on some fishing line somewhere overhead in my little A-frame hobby room. I like these. I don't want to call them guns. They're probes on a peaceful ship. This is called the Universal Greeblie, according to Adam Savage, and it appears on every single Star Wars craft that he had anything to do with making for George Lucas at Industrial Light and Magic. One of the last stages is to lay the whole unit down and give it a little black mist coverage for shadows, followed by some very subtle white edging to look like space wear and tear. And there it is, after a full week-long production, Space Cruiser 2.0, saving my local landfill from a ton of plastic junk. But you know what? Thrown all together randomly as I did on these Super Soakers, with a little bit of paint and highlights, I think I've got the makings of a pretty decent starship, for only my second try. It was a nice diversion from my regular projects here on the bench, and I can report that it was great fun. I hope you enjoyed watching it too, and maybe it inspired some ideas and creativity for the space explorer inside of you. Leave a respectful comment below. Thanks so much for visiting my channel today. Come on back soon, and often. It's coffee time.